Hey guys, welcome back to RC Video Reviews. Today I did a long live stream for our European friends. I did a live stream thinking that I wanted to use a time slot where we could have people in Europe join, and it was great. We were on for a long time. I didn't think I'd be on so soon after that, but today the TX18S showed up in the mail, and I wanted to do a first look because there's been so much demand on this one. And, I've kind of got this live stream thing working pretty good right now, and I thought I'd try something a little bit different. So rather than me get a camera out and sit in a shop somewhere and work with the GoPro and the webcam and do my thing, taking a look at the radio and telling you what I see on it, I figured a live stream, there'd be an opportunity for us to sit and check it out together. So there's an opportunity just to have this be a little bit more interactive and let you guys ask questions about it and tell me what you want to see or what you want to know about it. And you can ask questions while we take a look at it. In the spirit of full disclosure, I have already had it out of this little plastic wrapper just to put a battery on, and I took the little screen protector off, but that's really about it. I've turned it on just to make sure it worked. I charged the battery for a little while to make sure that the battery charging circuit works, and it did. And that's it. So one other thing that I'd like to point out is that we hit our 5,000 subscriber mark today. And I'm really thrilled about that. In fact, I know a lot of the guys that were on earlier for the European Pilot Jam, they already got my little Easter egg, but I'm just going to give you guys a quick look at what I did earlier. We hit 5,000 today, and it's official. We are definitely over the 5,000 mark. So I have just a little celebration to share real quick. All right, that was just a little bit of fun, just to have a little wahoo moment. We hit 5,000 subs. I think that's awesome. And I just want to tell you guys that I'm really grateful that you participate in the channel and you made this all possible. So 5,000 is a nice number. It's starting to be a substantial channel, and that's reflected in the view counts and everything else. So I appreciate you guys, and I just wanted to say thanks and to have a little celebratory moment. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about this TX16S, and I can see the chats are already starting. I don't want to see this. I just bought the Radio Master. Well, who knows? We'll see. NN Sense. We'll find out. And what? You're at it again. Yeah. Deathrus. I think that's what we named you earlier today. Yeah. I think it'd be cool just to, rather than have me do an unbox and do what I want to do, to let you guys kind of interact with it. Check it out, and be part of the conversation. So, as you can see, I've got it over here on the side. I'm going to bring up real quick in case you'd like to ask questions about the radio. Here's a phone number you can call, 352-577-5322. And if you want to make the call and ask questions about the radio or ask me to show you something, feel free to call in and do that. Otherwise, I'm going to flip over to the big camera, and I'll watch the chat window too. Yeah, did you get one of those? Yes, I did. Yeah. RC Air Marshal, I did get one. I had a lot of questions about it, and because I've been kind of developing a little bit of a rep in the OpenTX space for OpenTX radios, I thought it kind of made sense for me to get my hands on one and try it out. So anyway, the phone number again, 352-577-5322. Write that down, and if you want to call while I'm looking over the radio, feel free to do that. And for now, I'm going to switch over to the big camera. And I can tell you that this is not a problem with the camera. This is just got a clear plastic lid, and this is how it comes in the box. And I'm not a big unbox guy. I know there's channels out there like Unbox Therapy. That guy's an actual artist when it comes to unboxing stuff, and he's really funny. If you've never watched him, his name is Lou at Unbox Therapy. Dude is hilarious, man. He has moments with things that he unboxes. I'm not quite into product that much, but I wanted to show you what you get, because one of the things that's let me get this out first. One of the things that's always a topic of conversation on these two radios is that the jumper comes with a really nice case. And I do like the case on the Jumper T18. And the Radiomaster TX18S comes with the that EPP foam case. So little bit of a different experience this time. But inside the box, there's a USB-C cable and a little foam disc that's meant to go between the battery door and the battery to keep it from wobbling around in there. And then there's a detachable 2.4 gigahertz antenna. So let me just get this thing out of the way. And I'll set the radio down, and I'll give you some first thoughts on the radio. As far as the radio goes, yeah, woo, look at that. It's pretty cool. Very blacked out, man. This is like what they call those cars with the dark tint and the dark wheels. It's a murdered out look. This one's definitely murdered out. It's got subtle touches of chrome, and it's all black. So they didn't do much in terms of embellishment. I think it actually looks kind of cool. It's very, very stealth. Like, I think of the FBI agent. This is what you'd expect a FBI agent or a Secret Service guy to be flying with. Very black. Yeah. And in a sense, there's definitely some cross-pollination going on here, and it's very obvious that there is. And I don't know what the backstory is. I think a lot of people make some assumptions that Radioking is Jumper. We know that. That's a fact. And I think a lot of people make some assumptions that they are a little upset at what Radiomaster's been doing to market share. So they took some of the Radiomaster design cues and implemented them in their radio. So, I mean, right off the bat, first off, they use the TX18S, which I think is supposed to be quote unquote a better than TX16S, right? I think that's one of the first things. And then you can see that they use these crow feet right along the top for the 6-position switch. That's directly from Radiomaster. I mean, that's their thing. And I'd be honest with you, I like the regular buttons on the Jumper T18 better myself. I think they just look better. So I don't know what they were thinking with that. They did use the same speaker grill that you see on the Jumper T18 Pro. It's identical. They've got the same 3-position hook for the neck strap on the front. That's identical. The gimbals are identical to the T18. And the front button layout, including the dual power buttons and all the navigation buttons, identical to the Jumper T18. No changes in that arrangement at all. All right, I wanted to flip back over to the phone screen just to let you guys see it again. 352-577-5322 if you'd like to call in. And I don't know, who was it? No, it was Props Off that was having a problem. I found out on the last live stream when Props Off was calling, he was coming from an unlisted number, and I found out that the settings were buried way deep inside of Google Voice, that at some point in the past on my Google Voice profile, I had sent unlisted callers to voicemail. So I found that. It's weird that it's not in the current configuration. I had to go into the old settings interface to change that, but I did, and I found it, and I turned that off. So if you have an unlisted number, you should be able to get through at this point. But anyway, I just wanted to bring the phone number up again, 352-577-5322, in case anybody wants to make a call and ask any direct questions about it while I go through it. One thing, yeah, the detachable antenna. So Matt, a detachable antenna. That's right, 2.4. And I know for a lot of people that's a thing. And I think it's because they like for it to be packed up or easily packed into a backpack, or to change for a higher gain antenna. So I guess you can get some Fursky higher dBi antennas, and I think that's a big thing for some people. The scroll wheel that's metal. It's a metal scroll wheel. It's cold. That's how I can tell, but it's metal. And I'll tell you what, the knurling on that scroll wheel is not as pronounced as it is on the TX16S. I'm going to flip over to the big camera so you guys can get a better look at it. But yeah, this scroll wheel is definitely metal, and it's a lot smoother. It doesn't have the same bite in the scroll wheel that you see in the TX16S. That TX16S is kind of sharp. And then speaking of metal, this is one of the hit points that I gave on the Jumper. I know a lot of people like that foldable handle, but when I did the TX16S versus Jumper T18 shootout, I gave the TX16S a few points because it's metal. And on my radios, I prefer metal. If I'm going to use the handle, I want to know that I can grab that and it's not going to let go. I don't want to drop that when I'm carrying it out to the car. So I personally prefer metal. I know the foldable handle has some advantages in terms of portability. I get it, but my preference is metal. And then on the back, I'll point out too that check check out the back. That is the same exact pistol grip arrangement that you see on the TX16. That's not flat. And I haven't peeled these grips off, but I'm going to. I'm going to take one of these off and take a look. So yeah, there it is. Look at that. They use, it looks like the same back that's on the TX16 because it has that hump. The TX16S has that same hump. So when you grab it on the back, it's much more substantial. So smaller hands don't like that because you got a lot more area to grip to get your hands on it. So that definitely is a change from the jumper, because on the jumper, that little hump right there is not existent. Another thing I'll point out around the outside is, check that out. On the bottom, there's nothing. There are no ports at all. No SD card, no battery, no UARTs, no nothing. I mean, that's completely closed at the bottom. Let's see. My understanding, in order to get FCC compliance, the antenna are supposed to be fixed, so that's an odd choice, to be honest. Oh yeah, that's an interesting point. And, you know, I didn't see any FCC compliance stickers or embossing on this thing, and I still don't. So that's interesting. That might be worth looking into later. Well, since I have the battery cover off, I do want to show you guys one other thing. I got the battery cover off. I'm going to take the module cover off. Maybe. There we go. Module cover's off. Now I'm going to hold the battery, but I want you to listen. I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to bring it over to the mic, and I want you to listen. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I'm just kind of shaking it a little bit, and man, it rattles. It rattles. When I first took it out, I thought, oh, it's just a battery tray. And then I took the battery tray out, and I took the 18650 tray out, and then it still did it. So I thought, oh, well, it's the cover. So I took the cover off, and it still did it. So I don't know what the heck is going on. I will take it apart. I'm not going to do that tonight. I will take it apart, but there's something rattling around inside there, and I'm going to have to check that out. I'm not sure what it is. There's definitely something loose inside. Okay, let me get that stuff out of the way. And let's see, Matt, are these OpenTX radios shipping out of a China white box factory? You know, I don't think so. But that's a fair question. I honestly don't know, because this, to me, I thought when Radio King first came out, I thought that's exactly what was going on. I thought it was one of those shared intellectual property things, and somebody else decided to jump in the market because Radio Master and Jumper were having a go. And it turns out that this is Jumper. It's Jumper. It's the same company. So I don't know what's going on between Radio Master and Jumper. There's something going on, but you know, it's not really like public knowledge. To my knowledge, it's not public. So I don't know what exactly it is that's going on, but it's something. I'm going to stick the antenna in the top, and then I'll screw that down. Is there adjustment to the gimbal under the rear grip? I saw some holes. Yes, there are some holes right there, and I'm sure those are for adjustments. I'm sure that's what those are for. Let me get my glasses on so I can get a real close look here. Hold on just a second. Just a second. Yes, there's definitely, you can see when you look inside. I don't know if the camera's going to get it. I'll try. But when you move this stick in, if you look inside that screw hole, you can see the screws moving. I know it's probably really tough on camera to get it, but you can see it. So yes, I say the screw holes are there to adjust the gimbals. And that's needed, by the way. I'll tell you what, flat out, on the Jumper T18, I didn't really care to make any adjustments right out of the box, but I can tell you on this one, this throttle switch is it's almost floppy. So that definitely has to be tightened up. I'll be trying to figure that out. Let's see. It's the second speaker. They didn't include the mounting holes in the fake Radio Master backplate, so it's just flopping around in there. That's my guess. I have no idea. Well, I'm going to find out, buddy. I'm going to take this apart for sure. There's something going on in there. But speaking of second speaker, I'll show you at the top real quick. It does have the USB-C charging jack, and I do want to show you before I turn it on. I'm just going to plug this in real quick so you guys can see what it does. This one plugs in on the top. So on the Radio Master, you've got two different USB-C ports. You've got one on the top for access to the SD card and one on the bottom for charging. This one's just on the top only. And when you plug it in, watch what happens there. The lights go back and forth for a little bit. And that's another thing that they did. They changed the light color to red. which again, I don't know. Is that a slap in the face for Radio Master? I don't know because they're blue. And the lights on the LEDs up front are also blue, I believe. So this one does have charging. This one does have a USB-C charging circuit, and you can see there's a little LED that's visible from the top showing that you actually are charging. So there's that. There are quite a few things on the bottom of the TX18S, and it's convenient to have the charger USB-C. Yeah, I agree with you. And in a sense, when I set my stuff down, that's exactly how I... Oh, that's the radio. That's the battery. That's exactly how I feel about it. I like my charging port on the bottom. In fact, when I put my charging circuit on the Jumper T18, I put it on the bottom corner. So that way I can set it down on the desk, plug it in, and no interference. So little, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird to me. It's definitely odd to put that up top. And I don't know that it matters so much that you have two USB ports, but one thing that I do know about this one is that when it's plugged in and charging, you can't turn it on. And when you do have it on, you can't plug it in and charge it. I've learned that much so far. Are orange when you connect a USB on Radio Master? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't remember. On Radio Master, I know the front light, the front LED goes green when it's plugged in. Anyway, I'll unplug that, and you can see the LEDs go off on the front and on the top there, so that's fine. And we'll go ahead and turn it on. And I'll tell you right off the bat, one of the things I was really impressed with was the speaker volume. So I'm going to hold this up to the microphone so you guys can hear it power up. So just listen to it real quick, and I'll shut up.
Welcome to OpenTX. Throttle warning.
Okay, so if you know about the issues with the Jumper T18 and the T16, there were some issues with feedback on the speaker, and they cleaned that up on this radio for sure. I'm just giving a little status update here. Okay, so yeah, they cleaned that up for sure. And I don't know, hopefully you guys heard the volume on it that time, but very loud. It was definitely loud. No doubt about that. And then as far as the screen goes, I didn't, like I said, I only turned it on momentarily. Let's take a look at the hardware real quick. I don't think this one comes with the touchscreen. I just want to verify it. Oh, that was interesting. Look at the trainer just says slave. Interesting. Somebody else mentioned to me on their trainer setup they had slave as well. And I didn't know what they were talking about because in my trainer setup, it didn't say anything about slave. I wonder... Mode. I wonder if that's a model thing. Yeah, there it is. It says mode slave jack. That's the problem. I think you got to change that to master, maybe master multi, and then we'll see. See, this is, I digress, man. I see this stuff and I'm like, wonder why it says that. And I start looking into it. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Trainer's available now. So at least now I know the answer to that question. I've never seen a radio do that by default before. Let's see. What are the buttons next to the T5 and T6 trimmers? They're not buttons. They're just lights. So they got rid of the LEDs and they used, yeah, they're just lights. So there's no button there. It's just a LED cover. But see, that's another kind of weird thing though, isn't it? Like, why did they use red lights for the mode switch and blue lights for the power? I don't get that. I think it would have been better if they just made the whole thing red or the whole thing blue. I think it was kind of weird choice. I mean, not a functional problem, but just kind of a weird choice. Okay, anyway, I wanted to look, the reason I got in here is I wanted to look at hardware and see if there's anything about a touch panel. Oh, look at that. You guys see that? It says touch panel, and when you touch, it registers. So this one is a touch panel. Definitely is a touch panel. There we go. Well, that's kind of good. And then, I did that one video with the 6-position switch, and I was looking at the analogs, and I noticed that I had, if you look at this number 6 right here, on the other radios, I had -100, then -60, and then 20, and then 19. Yeah, same thing. So it looks like that's definitely an OpenTX thing. So same deal on this one with the mode switches. As far as other interesting items on this radio go, the hardware, or I got to get out of here, the firmware. Notice they've got 2.3.10 in there on the firmware, 2.3.10. And I don't know when that was released. I know it's out there because I was talking with one of the guys today in Discord about it, Jorge, and he was asking some questions about 2.3.10. But 2.3.10 is released, and the T18 is supported in 2.3.10. So I'm going to go ahead and take a gamble and install Companion for .10, and I will find out if Companion works politely with this radio in terms of configuring and pushing models and doing that kind of thing. Of course, I'll back up my SD card first, but I will be checking that out. I'll let you guys know what I find out there. Okay. Yeah, that's the date, 9/9. But I'll tell you what, man, 2.3.10 was not available on 9/9, Matt. I looked. I've been watching for that one, and it's definitely was not available. I don't know, maybe because they're a developer or a manufacturer, maybe they got early access to it. Maybe the devs put together an early setup for them. It's possible, but that definitely has not been. That's recent. 2.3.10 is very recent. In fact, I don't think it was more than about 5 days ago that I looked at the milestones, and they were about 97%. Like, I want to say 3 or 4 days ago. It wasn't long. Yeah, RCR Marshall. Yeah, you're probably right. If you tell it it's a TX18S, it probably will. Normally, it's related to hardware and the way the firmware or the hardware reads the model information. So yeah, I'm sure it would work fine setting it up as a TX18S. Probably no doubt about that. All right, I'm going to bring the phone call thing up again just to give you guys pre-release or a nightly bill. Yeah, it could be, Matt. It could be. I'm going to have to check, but I know I pulled down a companion nightly for the Jumper T18, and the Jumper T18 was in the nightlies for companion. So that's how I got all my models onto the T18, but whatever the case, 2.3.10, and there we go, TX18S right on the top. And I will be installing Companion 2.3.10 to see if I can get all the operating parameters to work the way it's supposed to. Okay, out of curiosity, does that turn on with the USB-C connected on the TX16? I cannot turn it on. No, it does not. That's what I was showing you earlier with the USB-C connected up top. It will not turn on, which I think that's unfortunate. All right, so I've just got it plugged in. We'll let it go through its little, what is that, Knight Rider that used to do that? So Knight Rider, and then I'll just hold a button and yeah, nothing happens. I got nothing. No lights, no nothing. Hey, don't forget to hit like. There's 20 some people on the thing and only 7 people have hit like. And then the phone number is up there, 352-577-5322. If you want to call and ask questions, I'm here to take your call. So, pick it up and give me a call and ask what you will about the radio. I'm happy to answer your questions about it. Let's see. As far as the sliders go, that's always the big question on these radios. And I would say I don't feel any. There's no real difference. They actually, I don't know. No, I can't. I really want to say yes, but I have to say no. There's no real difference on these than I feel with the other ones. And the pots have a solid center detent on these. No issue there. You can definitely feel the center detent on the pots. And I don't know why, but the left one feels far more positive than the right one. The right one, I feel like I can go through it a little easier, but the left one definitely has a solid lock in the middle. Just got here. Can someone TLDR the changes? Knight Rider kit, yeah. So other than that, the button layout is basically identical to, let me just check. It's 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, momentary, and 2. Yep. That's exactly. I mean, these switches are identical to the other radios. There's absolutely no change there. And even the power buttons work the same. So, press it, hold it, you get the light. And SC is got to be up there. Yeah, it's all the same, man. This thing feels just like the TX16 and the T8 and the T18 Pro. Yeah, in terms of powering up and the way it feels in the hand like a Radiomaster TX16S, with one exception, and that's notice the gimbals. Can you guys see the stick height? How low that is? Let me flip over to the big camera. All right, there's a look at the stick height from the side, and I believe it's using the same M3 sticks. I did not see a set screw in the stick ends on the top of this. No set screw on there. That is the stick end right there. So that's that. But I think for, in terms of grip, the case feels like a TX16S and the sticks feel like a jumper. So it's it really is like these two had a baby. That's what it feels like. William says he's been tempted to mod the TX. Yeah, a lot of people do that because they want the high gain antennas, or they want to be able to switch them out. They're worried about breakage or endurance or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons people do that. So let's see. Doesn't this have a cheapo TX module, or is it using the Form 1? I haven't cracked it open yet, RC Air Marshal. I will. I'm not going to do it tonight, but I will open this one up. I think one of the reasons I'm going to be a little bit slow to open this one up is because I've heard a couple of different reports, and I even had someone on the Discord server today say that he had his radio, he didn't change anything on it, and within 2 days or 1 day, he's sending it back for a hardware failure. He said the screen was inverted and he had some other issues. Now, I mean, what do I know? I don't know if there's water involved. I don't know if he's the wrong battery. I don't know if it's just a straight up hardware. I don't know. I just simply don't know. So, for that reason, given that it's brand new and this one's not sponsored, this is a John video. So I paid for this out of my pocket. I think I'm going to go a little bit easy on tearing into it, and I'll probably pair it up with a plane and take it out and fly it for a while and see what I think of it. And before I start digging in and tearing it apart. So I just want to see, without fooling with it, how it does. And if you want to know about the batteries, I am using those Samsung 35E 18650 3400 milliamp hour 18650 batteries. And I get those from that 18650 battery store. All right, we covered that. Not this radio, but is there an estimate for when touchscreen? I think touchscreen is supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, someone will correct me, but I believe it's 2.4, and I don't, as far as when that's going to happen, William, I don't know. I don't know when that 2.4 is going to hit, but I believe 2.4 is the scheduled release for when the touchscreen should be enabled. RC Air Marshal. Are you... Dude, I like where your head's at, man. Well, I don't mind fooling. You guys know I don't mind fooling with stuff. I definitely do not. But because it took me a month to get this, I don't want to take it out in the field and say, well, I was in there, I dropped a screw and blew up the motherboard, and so a month and a half later, I'll have some footage on the TX8. I just got the thing. So what I really like to do is test it out first. I'll probably open it up and look around just to get a look at what's happening inside. And I definitely need to adjust the tension on the throttle stick, because to me, that's not usable. I can't use it like that. That's floppy. I need more tension than that. So I will check into that kind of thing, no doubt about it. But I'd like to fly it and try it out first. And then, after that, I've got some other ideas too. I mean, Chris is he's a Futaba Spectrum guy, and I'd like to put an OpenTX radio in his hand and let him say what he thinks, and I think there's some video footage in there to say, hey, you're an OpenTX newbie, watch this video, go do this thing, and then come back and tell us what you think, or what did you learn? And, so I think there's material in there. So I don't want to be too hard on this radio. I'm going to be a little softer on this, but I also can tell you for sure, RC Air Marshal, there's more coming. So don't worry about that. There are more radios on the way. So there'll be more to come for sure. But man, I do like where your head's at. Blow it up. I'm definitely not afraid of getting into it, man, for sure. Hey, anybody want to call and ask questions? It's 352-577-5322. Phone's open. So feel free to call in if you want to ask. If you got anything you want to see specifically that I haven't covered already. I figured while we're here, I can probably go through a couple of other things just to see. One of the things I know is about brightness. On camera, brightness can be a real tricky thing. So I'm going to go ahead and one thing I want to do is turn the volume, the master volume down a little bit because I don't like getting yelled at when I power on my radio. And then let's see. I want to go ahead and do the, I want to change that brightness. Yeah, I think, the brightness is all the way up actually. Interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that was all the way up. I'll turn that down just a little bit. Now I'm really interested in comparing this screen to the TX16S because that was another point that I gave the T18 is that screen seemed to be a little bit more crisp. It was when I do the Android versus iOS or Apple phone screen comparison, the iOS phones tend to be a little warmer and the Androids tend to be a little cooler and crisper. And that's what I thought about when I saw the T18 and the TX16S next to each other. I felt that the T18 was crisper and I felt the TX16S was warmer. This screen actually looks a little bit more like the TX16S, and that wouldn't surprise me because this is a touchscreen. So, all right. I can't say anything bad about OpenTX or Radiomaster. I know we talked about the Spectrum video idea, but it's hard to argue against OpenTX now that I've been flying it. Yeah. I agree, man. I agree. It's tough. It's a really, once you kind of embrace it and start understanding the fundamentals of the operating system, it's really hard to fault it. I mean, it's a very competent technical system for sure. Okay, so let's see. The memory card. This is another area, and by the way, whenever I get one of these radios, one of the first things I'll do is swap out the memory card because most of the time the memory cards in these are just like cheap batch, no name deals. And, for me, I like switching them out to put in something like a, name brand card that I know I can trust. But one thing I do want to take a look at is, I don't have my glasses on here, but I want to take a look at the model selection and see if we can figure out what size card is in this thing. It says 0.0 gigs, so no. Where else does anybody know off the top of your head where you get the card size? It's not in the SD card thing. Nope. I thought it was in that model selection screen. I thought you could get it. Nope, that's about OpenTX. Yeah, normally it's down here and it tells you how much space is being used. Under statistics? Is that where it is? Under statistics? Oops. Let's see. I've got session, battery, throttle, timers, and then free mem, Lua scripts. I'm not really seeing it in statistics. Oh, no, that's memory. It says 4,120,480 bytes. So 4 megs of memory. And yeah, I don't see memory card size in that menu. Maybe I'm missing it. RC Air Marshal. Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. Well, I've done some good work with the streaming software. Hey, RC Air Marshal, why don't you call in, man? We were talking about doing a collaboration anyway. Why don't you call in and you can tell me what you learned about. You're a Spectrum guy, so yeah, if you're flying a TX16S and you got a favorable opinion about it, call in. Let's chat about it for a minute. I'd like to hear that. So if you guys don't know, RC Air Marshal runs a YouTube channel, and he's a Spectrum guy. And we were talking about doing a collaboration. We were going to do a little back and forth about Spectrum versus OpenTX, and probably life got in the way, and we got sidetracked a little bit. But we still want to do that. I still want to do that, and we were, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. You got a hard stop. I get it. But if you can make the call, go ahead. It's open 352-577-5322. So anyway, we talked about doing a collaboration, and then we did some plotting over email, and I still think we're going to do one, and I think we want to do a little bit of a comparison, and it meant to be a good spirited comparison between Radiomaster and Spectrum. We don't want to get into anything nasty about it or anything like that. Just a little bit of fun, just to talk a little bit about the two different systems and maybe touch on the pros and cons and how they compare. But because he's a Spectrum guy, and I've been more of an OpenTX kind of guy, we thought we could have definitely some fun play and give you guys some good information about that. Hey, one other thing while I'm waiting for RC Air Marshal to call, I'm going to apologize if this makes a lot of noise on the mic. In fact, I'm just going to mute it because I don't want you guys to hear this. Oh, here he is. Let's take the call first. RC Air Marshal, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. So you said you're thinking about being a convert from Spectrum to OpenTX, huh?
I would have never said that a month ago, but I bought the Radio Master just to play with it, just to get a feel for OpenTX, because I do these reviews and all that stuff, and people ask like, well, why should I use Spectrum? My OpenTX works great. And I'm like, OpenTX is junk. Use Spectrum, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to see what it was all about. And the more I use it, the more I'm like, maybe Spectrum is junk. But there's just so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
That it's impressive, just the way that the mixes are set up, and it's confusing at first, but once you kind of wrap your head around it, it makes so much more sense than other radios. So I'm digging it, and between you and me and the people watching, like I've lost 2 planes on my IX-12 over the past 2 trips to the field. So that's a big reason to switch to.
And isn't the IX-12 is kind of like one of their flagship versions of that radio, right? Of Spectrum, right?
It is. And, I think it's more to do with the particular field that I fly at than the radio itself. But, even with that said, how much risk do you want to put in it when you're flying, $500 and $600, $700 airplanes?
Oh, yeah.
Once you start adding batteries and all that stuff. I mean, if there's a risk that I could have a plane go in, thankfully the 2 planes that have gone in, Horizon's got a sale going on right now where parts are like 50% off. So I've been able to get them fixed for cheap. But I mean, it's just,
it's still time and effort, money and frustration, and then you're gun shy. Like, is it going to happen to me again? And that's always my problem.
Yeah.
If you get something like that,
these couple 2-3 dozen planes that I've got here that have Spectrum receivers in them, it starts casting that doubt in your head, and now I'm looking at, should I get like an Aura 8? Gyro with S-bus and run a crossfire receiver, like what can I do to avoid this from ever happening again? Not that I need to fly my jet, 40 kilometers away, but it's good to know you can.
Yeah. That was one of the reasons I like Dragon Link receivers so much, because with that, Dragon Link, there's plenty of videos out there with those systems flying 10 plus miles away. And so you knew flying Dragon Link, you were not going to lose signal. So even as a park fly radio, if you had an expensive plane, not a bad choice, because that UHF, man, you were never going to lose radio on that plane. And, you bring up an interesting thing, because when I first got into flying at the local field, I went to a park in Arizona. Park fly was allowed at public parks. So that's where the guys would go in the morning, and in early mornings we'd fly. And anecdotally speaking, I would hear all these stories from the Spectrum guys about don't fly in that corner, because it's going to brown out. You're going to lose your plane. And I even saw it happen a couple times, and I never was really able to assess anything to it. I never was able to say, well, let me see your radio. What kind of RSSI did you have? Did you do a range check? What kind of state was your receiver in? Was your antenna orientation correct? I never got to do any of that stuff, but I can tell you that flying Fursky and Tyrannus, I never had that problem. I didn't worry about that dark corner. I flew my plane over there just on principle, half the time just to piss those guys off, because I'm like, why are you guys worried about your radio? You shouldn't worry. It's right there. You can see it. It should never be a problem. So I've heard that about Spectrum, but it's never been anything more than anecdotal for me. So I'm interested to hear you were flying, you say an IX-12, and you're saying, no, you lost radio on the flagship model. That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah. And it is interesting. And, for years I've been flying Spectrum and have never had a problem until recently. Now, the area where I was flying, there's a big neighborhood right on the other side of the trees. And, I don't know if you pay attention to like motion RC videos or even mine, But I fly at the same field where they make all the motion RC videos now, and it's like this big fishbowl surrounded by trees. And on the east side of the field, like on the right side of the runway, there's a big neighborhood over there, hundreds of homes. And I'm sure that every one of those homes probably has, it's loaded with Wi-Fi. And it's over in that area that I've lost 2 planes in the past 2 trips to the flying field. And never before have I lost signal, not long enough for a plane to go in. I've had signal drop where I had a drone fall out of the sky, flying Spectrum, and that's when I bought the Radio Master.
Hey, I got a question for you. Have you taken your Radio Master Spectrum Analyzer over to that corner and tried it out to see if you get what your noise floor is? You know about that, right?
That is interesting. I have not done that. Because I just didn't think about it until just now. but that's interesting that you bring that up.
Well, we got to be careful with that. Let's call a spade here, right? That's not scientific lab grade gear, but I do think it'll show you if you've got some peaks. I think it'll show you that.
But what it is better than the Spectrum Analyzer that I have that's scientific grade, which is not. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, this one is better than that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, try it out. Let me know what you find out. It'd be interesting to hear if you're seeing noise over there with that analyzer. Yeah,
I think you can get like apps for your phone that tap into the Wi-Fi antenna on your phone and will, do like a 2.4 gigahertz, Spectrum Analyzer thing too.
I think there's a company out there called Ubiquiti that makes some commercial grade Wi-Fi units, and they've got some software out there. So you might be able to use that Ubiquiti stuff to go out there and take a look at the noise floor and see what's going on. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that you bring that up, I think I may have that app. So in a previous life, well, still in this one, just many moons ago, I did a lot of commercial surveillance networks and stuff, and we use the Ubiquiti equipment all the time. So I'm pretty familiar with that app. So that's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I just while we were talking, if you guys weren't sure what we were talking about, here's the Spectrum Analyzer, and it works on the TX18S as well. So I've got that up on the screen so you can see it. And this is what we were talking about. Again, not scientific, but you can use this and look and see. And what we're talking about here is looking for peaks. So if you go to an area on a field that's known for noise, you take this radio out there and, turn your antenna up. Don't walk around with your antenna straight out. That's rookie. So you put it like that, and then you can press on the screen here and move the analyzer around to see there's a cursor that'll show you if you've got noise in a particular area of the spectrum. You can put that cursor there and get a read on where that noise is coming from. So that's what we were talking about. So yeah, RC Air Marshal, definitely, man, check that out. Let me know. I'd love to hear, if you find anything out about it, on whether or not you've got noise out there in that 2.4 space. But I think that was always another advantage of like the TBS Crossfire and the Dragon Link going to 433 is that you weren't competing with that quote unquote civilian, frequency range, right?
Right. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons that I've been kind of compelled to look at options where I can fly my fixed wing, even though I fly in a field, that's only 12 acres, I'm compelled to think that using 900 megahertz is a good idea. I've already got the Crossfire Micro TX in the back of my Radio Master that I fly my drones on. Why not use those? And they make they have like a diversity Crossfire receiver that's got PWM outputs on it.
Yep.
So there's a lot of options out there to use, a Crossfire link to my jets. And, just in the experience that I have switching from Spectrum to Crossfire on my drones, I have full confidence that those links will never fail, ever.
Yeah.
In the distance that I'm flying them at,
Mm-hmm.
And on 3 minutes of battery, I'm never going to fly that far away anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
The battery will die before it gets out of range.
Well, hey, check out that little Bijoli. We covered this a couple weeks ago. The Bijoli 6AP, I think. Aloft Hobby sells them. They're like $70, and they're little tiny return to home computers for like 60, $70. You can stab one of those on there, put a fail safe on that says, if I lose my signal, come home. And they work pretty well. So I wouldn't stick that on every park fly plane, but if you got something that's, I really should put one in the Smooth, the Smooth would be a good one to put that in, because if I lost radio for whatever reason, they do a pretty good job of coming home and flying overhead until you get your radio sorted out. So yeah, that's another neat little option for things like a radio failure.
Yep. And, I worked with BitGo for a few, different model reviews and stuff like you have. So I've considered asking BitGo. They've never sent me one of the Detrum radios, because the guy that I work with there, I know him pretty well. Uh-huh. And he knows I'm a Spectrum guy. He's like, I'm not going to send you the Detrum stuff. Well, this last time, I was like, hey, when you send this for review, send me one of them damn Blitz 9 radios too, because I need to explore my options.
Yeah, that DT9, I flew that around for a while, and I put it on my Millennium Master, and I had that on there for not quite a year, but for quite a while, and that thing did fine. I never had any real problem with it. The only thing that I would say is that it seemed like the resolution wasn't quite the same as it was on my OpenTX radios, but as far as the radio went, it was fine. And all of their stabilizers, the MSR66A, the SR86AG, the Z3, the iStone stabilizer, those all work. There's little gremlins that exist, but nothing that's a showstopper. Like for some, in certain cases, like a configuration wouldn't save when you expected it to save, and you have to reconfigure. I've had issues like that, but once I got it up and running, it seemed to be pretty well locked in. And on every return to home test I did on any of their gear, the thing always came home and flew well. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the flying home part. That's not that big of a concern for me, because, to be honest, most of the planes that I fly nowadays are all, 80 plus mile an hour warbirds and 120 mile an hour jets, like if they get away from me, they're gone.
You like the fast mover stuff. That's cool. Yeah.
Right. Like they're gone. It's out. So, I've never lost a plane where it just kept going and I just lost the signal. But, these last 2 days, it's been on my final, like coming out of the base leg, coming into my final, just about to land. And I'm coming in straight and true. Everything is fine. And then the plane just goes haywire, veers off to the left, and smashes nose first into the ground. Two planes, 2 different days, and it's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
really?
That's rough. I'll tell you what, man, I had a little streak like that going myself where I couldn't seem to do anything right. And the last event was that Tiny Hawk Freestyle 2, the flyway that I had. So yeah, we've all been there, man. Anyone that says they haven't crashed or lost a plane either doesn't fly or is lying. Yeah, that's all there's to it.
You hadn't been flying long enough.
Yeah, that's right. You're eventually going to crash or lose something. That's right.
So. Oh, they all go in eventually.
Yeah.
And the beauty is that nowadays there's so many parts. Sorry, man, my dogs are going crazy. People that watch my channel frequently, they know that my dogs are a frequent nuisance on my show. So, sorry to bring that to you.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
So, yeah, they die. These things have an expiration date on them.
Yep.
And eventually they're all going to meet their fate. One of the guys that I talk to quite a bit, who's one of the, big managers at Motion RC, he's like, we're always defying, we're playing the odds with gravity and Mother Nature. And I promise you, Mother Nature's going to win.
Well, I'll tell you, I've said this before too. This is why we do it. If there were no risk, you'd be flying a simulator. There's absolutely no risk in flying a simulator, and it's not nearly as fun as going to the field and putting a plane in the air. And the reason is because you're putting something at risk. There's adrenaline. It gets your blood pumping. When you fly a simulator, you crash, you just hit the button and go again. It doesn't matter. And that's what makes the hobby fun.
That's the crack of the whole thing, that's where the addiction comes in.
Yeah.
You start out with these small planes, and you work your way up to bigger and bigger and faster and more expensive, and next thing you know, you're flying a 150 mile an hour jet that's got $800 that you're throwing in the sky. Or a composite jet that's worth 30 or 40 grand, like, oh my God, those guys freak me out. But man, there's people that do it every day.
Yeah, that's right. I like Dale's got a very pragmatic. He just made a comment in the chat window. He said, if we didn't lose a model from time to time, we wouldn't have room for new ones.
That's what I was telling my wife yesterday.
That's awesome.
I crashed, it was an E-Flight Havoc, one of their green jets that I put in. And it made room in my storage rack for my Freewing F-22.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Very good.
So, on one hand, it's always sad to see one go. But on the other hand, it's like, sweet, I've got more space.
Yeah. Gonna have to get something new. That's right.
Yep. Well, I already had something. I've got like 2 or 3 models in the queue waiting for other ones to crash so it can take their spot.
Yeah. I feel you.
In the storage racks, there's so much stuff like laying on the floor, like, oh man, this is getting out of hand. Oh, sweet, I wrecked one. I can put that one here now.
Very good.
So there's upsides and downsides.
Yeah, practical view. That's all you can do. What else can you can beat yourself to death or just laugh it off? Hey, speaking of that, earlier on the earlier pilot jam we did with the Europe contingent, I mentioned that. Yep. I'm going to ask you guys to do the same thing. If you've got, I'm gonna set up a Dropbox and I'll put the information on Discord. Okay, so if you're not in Discord, get on Discord, and I'm gonna set up a Dropbox. If you've got any crash videos, send them to me on the Dropbox, and we're gonna do a crash compilation video just for fun. It's just meant to be fun because I know those crash videos out on YouTube get all kinds of play. So if you guys have any crash videos,
that's where you get 1 million viewers.
Yeah, if you get some crash videos, send them in. Let's do a compilation. We'll do an RC video reviews, aircrew crash compilation video. So if you guys have stuff, send it to me. I'll put the Dropbox out there. I'll make it available, and there's some upcoming videos, and I'll put it on Discord too. So, all right, RC Air Marshal, man, thanks for checking in. It was good to talk with you, and I appreciate the dialogue on Spectrum. And let me know what you find out about that noise floor out there with that Radio Master.
Hey, I wanted to ask you something real quick if you got a couple more minutes.
Sure.
The FR Sky, you're using mostly FR Sky receivers, right?
Yep.
All right, so one of the ones that I wanted to try out, in my infinite search for options, is the I think it's the S8R. It's like an 8-channel receiver with stabilization built in.
Yep.
Have you used those? Are they pretty good for the money?
I've got you got to get on the channel and look in my playlist. I did a full S6R configuration, but the S6R and 8R are identical. They configure the same. The S8R just has 2 more channels.
Come on, man! I'm busy trying to make my own videos.
I know. I get you. But there's a whole thing on there. In fact, that is my primary go-to receiver for most of my planes these days. Is the S6R, and it has stabilization. I always configure it. I always set it up. I rarely use it, but when I want it, it's there. And I primarily use it when there's wind. So I use it. I got the radio talking to me over here. I primarily use it when there's heavy wind. Not that I mind flying in the wind. In fact, Dave and I talk about that all the time. You should be able to land your plane in the wind with or without a stabilizer. So I definitely advocate for that. However, when the wind is blustery in Florida, I don't mind turning that on just to reduce my workload and let me fly a little bit more. So that's the idea.
Right.
But yeah, they're very good. Watch the video though, because this is another one of those love-hate things with China electronics. They're a little kludgy. So watch the video because I cover some really odd little things that you have to do to make sure they're configured correctly. So definitely watch that video.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out. I was looking at them yesterday. Had some folks, make that recommendation. Like, try this. Since you have the multi-protocol module, you can use whatever the hell receiver you want. Yeah. So I figured I'd give it a go.
Yeah.
And
they're good.
You haven't had any issues,
Nope.
with range?
Nope. Never. Not on the new stuff. Not on the Tyrannus. I've done things that I was stupid about, like taking off with the damn thing in stabilized mode and porpoising an airplane halfway, thinking I lost control or lost radio immediately on takeoff. And then I realized, well, the reason you did that is because you had your gain all the way at 0 and you had it in stabilized mode.
Your elevator gains were way too high or something?
Too low. They were off. So when you turn them off and you try and fly the plane, you can't. So I realized what I did.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So anyway, I've done stupid things like that, but nothing you could blame the computer for. It's not the radio's fault. That's the operator error, being stupid.
Yep. Yeah, it's my understanding, and I have no way to verify it because I don't have like a test lab, but I've watched a few videos of people that have test labs, where they can measure like RF output on, the 2.4 megahertz or 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. And there have been some videos out there that had me a little bit concerned with the FR Sky module in the 4-in-1 multi-module, because it only outputs at like 75% of its output power.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that, and I don't know if that's in the I don't know if that's in the multi-protocol software configuration or if that's a limitation of the card and the protocol itself on the card. I don't know the answer to that. I did a video showing how to compile a multi-protocol software. Now that I've heard, you're the second person that's mentioned that, so I think I'm going to get in that multi-protocol software and see if I can figure out where the TX power is set and if it can be changed. The problem with doing that is that normally if they set a lower value, there's a pretty darn good reason for that. So as far as I'm concerned, flying in a park though, I have had the TX18S out there and I've flown everything I've got all the way up to my Smooth. And my Smooth is one of my more expensive planes. My Katana is one of my more, that's a precision aerobatics plane that's got some good hardware. That's not a cheap airplane. And I've flown that on the TX16 with FR Sky and or Free Sky. And it's not been a problem. So listen, man, here's the thing about radio spectrum technology. And this is what you got to be careful about. Unless if you have RF gear and you understand RF propagation and things that limit RF propagation, then fine, test away. But the reality is you get all these guys that they'll take a rack full of servos, they'll walk a mile away and they'll say, well, this one stopped working. And that's not a good test. I'm not going to go out and bash it, but if you want to test this stuff and get an actual predictable outcome, you got to have some skills in RF technology and you got to have the equipment that kind of dictates. But just going out and taking a receiver out and saying, well, this one didn't get the good one. Okay, well, what if that one was made on a Friday by a guy who was quitting and pissed off and he didn't solder things on the right way and he bent the antenna wire, at the connector? This is what I'm talking about. Right. You have to be able to, you can't just take one receiver and one radio and one servo and say, well, this is it's really hard to do that. And I try and stop myself from doing that when I do my own testing on this channel. And I'll fall into that trap from time to time. I'll say, well, this thing's a piece of junk. And I got to remind myself not to do that because it could be that particular one is a piece of junk, but all the rest of them are just fine. And that's the nature of warranties and repairs, right? I mean, how many cars are on the road that have never been in a service shop, but the people who get on the web and complain are the ones with the broken axle, right? It's the same exact concept. And you just got to be careful. You trust you trust people like Bruce. You know who Bruce is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You trust guys like him because he knows exactly what he's talking about. I believe he's got some real skill in electronics. And if he goes out and does an evaluation and reads a spectrum analyzer and an RF signal generator and says, here's a problem, he's the guy I'll listen to. But if people don't have those kinds of skills, I don't put a lot of weight in what they say. I just don't.
Right. Well, hey man, I gotta run. I got another phone call I gotta make here, but man, I appreciate you inviting me on and having this discussion.
Great, yeah. Thanks for making the call. It was good to talk with you live.
Yeah, I definitely want to try some of these options out. And I'll definitely grab the Radio Master the next time I go to the field and fire up that spectrum analyzer and go to my place where I've got a couple of divots that I put in the ground recently.
Yeah, be neat to see if there's something there. Yeah, absolutely. Let me know what you find out. You got my email.
Yeah, will do, man.
All right, take it easy.
All right, we'll see you, bud.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye. Mark, yeah, the lower power output is because of the multi-protocol chip. See, yeah, that's the problem. And that's why, even though you can do things like get into the firmware and make changes, I caution against doing that because the people who make those decisions, they generally have a pretty darn good understanding of what's going on. So I'm with you, man. I would definitely do my homework before just upping that value. But I am curious because it's been brought up twice if that's a parameter that's available in the NPM source code. It probably is. I know I've missed a lot in the chat and I'm curious. I just want to scroll back. The phone number's on the screen, guys. If you're watching and you'd like to make the call, feel free. It's 352-577-5322. I'm going to scan back a little bit and see if I missed anything that I need to address up here. I think I lost it when I Will said he wants a pistol grip controller with OpenTX. That'd be cool. That's a product. I might mention that to Radio Master. Maybe they're interested in something like that. I don't know if the OpenTX, I guess the OpenTX software would do it. They'd probably have to do some GUI stuff to make that happen. But yeah, OpenTX has been around. It's software. Yeah, Will, you're on it. You got that explanation. Let's see. NNSense, I think, departed. Dale says he sold all his other radios. Good, man. Good for you, Dale. Yeah, the Radio Master's solid, man. I actually was ignoring the whole multi-protocol thing, thinking, man, I've got my Taranis. I'm never going to give up my Taranis. And I finally decided to bite the bullet because I was just being asked constantly about these radios. So I knew I had to figure them out. And I'm with you. I think it's a very good radio system. Matt loves Ubiquity. Matt, I have problems with Ubiquity, but they do have some interesting software. I'll give them that. Let's see. Might work as a lender, friend in the hobby. NSense drops off. Chopper Girls Air War join. This young lady has got some information, man. If you guys want to see, you can check out her YouTube channel. You want to see a modified radio? Look at her stuff. She has done some neat stuff to her radio. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. If we did not lose Dale, we covered that. Yeah, the simulator, Chopper Girls, Air War. Yeah, the simulator is definitely good to learn and get some skills and get. What I really like about the simulator is developing the muscle memory. No question about it. So definitely good for that. And Deathrus, I think Deathrus. I got to remember that. 40 planes on the floor. You just respawn in the field. That's funny. Let's see. All right. Anybody? Dale says he'd buy a pistol grip as well. Anybody else got any questions about the TX, the Radioking TX18S? Anybody? You guys know about the Discord server, right? So if you want, get on the Discord later, and I'll use that to post little random bits of information. That's the nice thing about Discord, is that we can use that for less formal stuff, and I don't have to wait to put a video together. I can just put little bits of information on Discord. So you guys have any other questions about this TX18S by Radioking? I would say overall, from a build quality standpoint, it feels very similar to the TX16S. Again, I don't know the backstory behind Radioking and Radio Master. I don't know what the gig is there, but obviously there's something going on. But I think one of the, without getting into too much speculation about it, what I will tell you guys this: when about it was more than 3 days, about a week ago, I started sending a request to Radioking for information. I asked questions about the company. I asked questions about their presence in the community. I asked some questions about, how they're going to support, because if you go look at their website, and I'll bring that up real quick. Let me go ahead and bring that up real fast here. Their website is, am I not going to get this? There it is. Their website is radioking-rc.com. And if you look over their website, man, it's sparse. There's very little. You click on the product tab, you get the TX18S. That's it. You click on downloads, nothing. There's nothing under downloads. And under contacts, there's one phone number, an international Chinese phone number, and 2 email addresses, and a contact form. That's it. And for me, that's a little... If this were a primary radio for me, that would be concerning. I think I would probably wait. I would wait. This is not a primary radio for me. In fact, it's a, 4th or 5th down on the list, because I've got my TX16S, I've got my Taranis, I've got my Jumper T18, I've got some Detrum stuff, so I don't need to rely on this radio. But if it were the only radio, if I only had one, or if I only had budget for one, this definitely would not be the one. And I'm not saying that because I have an opinion about build quality or what I see on the table in front of me. I'm saying that because of what I see elsewhere. And elsewhere, I don't see a lot going on in terms of support. I mean, here's an example. Like, what if you flashed a firmware on this radio, like, I don't know, 2.3.11, and it didn't work, and you wanted to go back to the factory firmware? Where do you get that? Right now, I couldn't answer that question. I might try 2.3.10 off of OpenTX, download.org or whatever their URL is. I might try that, but it's not here. And to me, that's a problem. if you look at Radio Master, if you want to see the Radio Master website and you want to look at what they've got, you click on their download link. They've got their user manual. They've got the latest OpenTX radio firmware. They've got the multi-module firmware. They've got the factory firmware, factory SD contents. They've got a YouTube video on how to change. So, oh, and by the way, I'm going to throw this out there in case you haven't seen it. Radio Master is very nice, and they put all of my tutorial videos on their website. So they're all listed there too if you need a link or if you want to redirect somebody. But the point is, look at the effort that they're making. There's information out there, and that's why, for me, this is easy. You know, I wouldn't even think about this Radioking radio right now if it were my primary radio. Wouldn't even consider it. So again, it's not a commentary on the build quality. Don't make any mistake in what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a bad radio. What I'm saying is that if this is your primary choice, I would look elsewhere. Hey, one other thing I want to say real quick is make sure you check out OpenRC. Make sure you check out RC Air Marshal's website. He's got a YouTube channel. Just search for RC Air Marshal. He does a lot of Spectrum stuff, and he's got a lot of airplane videos out there. So make sure you check him out if you get a chance. So, yeah, Roy, Radioking is definitely they're kind of hiding it. They're not. Why? The only correlation you can get is that they're in the same city. I actually got on and did a Whois and looked up their domain names, and both companies are sourced out of the same city in China. So it's definitely Jumper. I don't know why they're being so secretive about it. I don't know the game. There's a game. There's something going on behind the scenes they're not talking about, but whatever, man. It's fine. My answer again is that if you're looking at this as a primary radio, I'd advise against it just because there's not going to be a whole lot in terms of support. I mean, I've sent those guys email 3 different times with several days in between, and I haven't gotten the first reply. I haven't even gotten a reply that says, hey, go pound sand. Nothing. And to me, that's disturbing. So that's the reason I'd say I wouldn't recommend this radio. There's nothing that I see on this radio that you can't get with a TX18S. And Radio Master's got world-class support. I mean, Ben's all over it. Every time you turn around, that guy's replying to people. He answers email. They're in the forums. They've got a well-developed website, and, they're doing their thing. So if I were looking at the two, TX16S would be the way. Jumper, maybe. I haven't had any tech experience with Jumper, but maybe. But as far as the Radioking goes, my experience with them right now, I can't say that it's been great. I've tried reaching out to them. I've given them plenty of time and opportunity to reply back, and they haven't even said, hey, John, we don't have answers for you. Please be patient. We'll update our website in the future. Like nothing. So, yeah, Dale says, I contacted Radio Master about an SD card in my radio, and they responded to my question within 24 hours and followed up also. Yeah, that's right. And that's been my experience with them too. Anytime I reach out to Radio Master, and I have several times, they've been very responsive. So anybody else want to make a call? 352-577-5322. Any other questions about the radio? Anything else you guys want to see on the first look? Is there anything else I need to show you? I guess what I could say about this is if it's not your primary radio and you just want a second one to tinker with or to try something different, or you want different gimbal stick height, if you just want to do some experimentation, that'd be great. I can say, aside from the fact that I like that carbon fiber on the T18, even the T18 Lite, this radio looks just like that one. And it kind of corrects some of the things they should have addressed in the first place, namely that speaker feedback. That's gone. I don't hear that at all. They got the metal handle, which I know that's subjective, but they've got that. And they've got the removable antenna, and they've got the charging jack. So they have done some things to make improvements over the T18. No doubt. I think they obviously took their cues from Radio Master in making these improvements. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It's definitely a mashup between the T18 and the Radio Master. No doubt. I've been reaching out to you for the Radio Master at RC. Drone Days, you lost me. I've been reaching out to you for the Radio Master. Yeah, I've been reaching out to Radioking, asking about their radio, and I have talked to Radio Master folks as well. So they've been very good. Crisp Forces says, I've been having issues with my TX16S and Spectrum receiver. Haven't seen anyone else with the issue. I keep getting RF signal issues with it. Well, do you have another Spectrum receiver? Because I can tell you that I've flown my Lemon and my, it's just the Lemon right now. That's the only one that I've got that's got DSM, and I haven't had any problems with connectivity on the DSM. Drone Days. Good. Yeah, good. I'm glad. Good. Okay. Oh, I think I get you now. You're saying you've been asking me questions about Radio Master. Yeah, that's good. I go through a lot of questions, as you can imagine. All right. If there aren't any other phone calls and there aren't any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I just wanted to say again, if you haven't figured it out, check out the Discord. The Discord's up and running, and it's free, costs you nothing. I did a video earlier today. I did a pilot jam with Europe, and we walked through Discord. So if you've never used Discord, check that video out. That's the pilot jam video that I did with I call it the Europe edition. So check that out. If you've never used Discord and you want a little tour, it's there, and I'll walk you through, how to use it and how it works and what it does and all that stuff. And then the Discord server so far has been doing well. It's growing. It's a rookie server, so we'll get there over time. But check that out for sure. A lot of information I think will wind up appearing there. And then, all right, Chris Forces. Yeah, man, check out another receiver. That's what I would do. Get a Lemon or get a Fly Sky. No, not Fly Sky. Get another DSM. Get a Lemon receiver. You can get those from Altitude Hobbies for like $15 and try it out with that and see if you have the same kind of issue. If you don't, maybe it's the receiver. If you have a Spectrum radio, you could also pair it up with a Spectrum radio and see if you have the same kind of issue. And if you do, then it's the receiver. If you don't, then who knows? You might have to do some frequency tuning or something else. So, all right, guys, that's all I've got. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you joining the live stream and hanging out with me today. And I'm going to close this one down instead of going to a static closeout screen. I'm going to play the little 5K celebration video again, because I'm really excited that RC Video Reviews, thanks to you guys being active with the channel and watching the videos and chatting and doing all the stuff that you guys do, we got to 5K on the sub list finally. So Drone Days, the XM Plus gives me funny OSD reading at Chris Forces. Okay. XM Plus gives me funny OSD reading. Okay. All right, guys, that's all I've got for tonight. Thanks for hopping on. I appreciate you chatting with me tonight. I hope you have a great night, and take it easy.